Good evening and welcome to the December 3rd, 2014 Falmouth Conservation Commission meeting. Welcome everyone. I hope your holiday was well. Look forward to, we're only having 2 meetings this month, as I believe. So it's going to be a quick month for us.
3 meetings.
And if I'm out of practice with this, bear with me. First up is minutes, and we're going to vote November 12th, 2014.
Mr. Chair, I've read the minutes and find them substantially correct.
That's Mike's motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, yeah, that's Mary's second. Any further discussion on the board? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next is November 21st, 2014.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry there. Mr. Chair, I read the minutes and find them substantially correct.
Second.
Okay. That's Mike's motion, Mary's second. And any further discussion on the board? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous, so moved. This is a request for a continuance under a determination of applicability. 10 Chapel Road, West Falmouth, Mass. Excuse me. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant requested continuance until the December 10th hearing, next week. So moved.
Second.
That's Mary's motion and Russell's second. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to talk about that? Is there any further discussion on the board? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous, so moved. Next is request to continue under a notice of intent. The first is 295 North Falmouth, Mass, the Town of Falmouth Beach Committee.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until January 21st.
Is that going to be enough time for him to get things?
We're hoping so. They went out and surveyed it. The town went out to survey it the other day, so
Okay.
that gives
Good.
our engineering department time to look at it.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
It's Mary's motion, Russ's second. Is there anyone in the audience who has any input on that project? Any further discussion on the board? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Black Beach Harbor Head Association, Little Neck's Bars Road, Black Beach Hills Road, and further.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, they are asking for a continuance until January 28th, but we don't meet that week, so continue them until January 21st. I sent Jack an email.
Okay.
And they are working with the neighbors, so they're trying to work through that process.
Does it look like?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, that's what they're going to get.
So moved.
Well, that's Russell's motion.
Second.
Mary's second. Any further comments on the board? Any discussion from the audience? Seeing none, a call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next, we would go on to the request for determination of applicability. This is a lesser of the 2 permitting processes tonight. This is a negative determination that will be heard if the project is going to go through. So when you want the project to go through, it's a negative determination. And this is from reports done by staff for us to vote on. First up is 29 Gull Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to pump, fill, and abandon the existing cesspools, relocate a drywall, and install a new Title V sewage disposal system.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the staff has reviewed the project, and we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Mike's motion, Mary's second. Any further discussion on the board? Is there any discussion from the audience on this project? Seeing none, I can call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next is 441 Elm Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to repair and maintain approximately 120 linear feet of mortared stone wall that will include replacing stones and mortar as needed with no change in elevation or footprint of the existing wall.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the staff is recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed. We are going to meet with the contractors on site before they start that work, and we were assured by the engineer the wall wasn't going to be completely removed and rebuilt. Okay?
Yes.
All right.
So moved.
Second.
Mayor's motion, Russell's second. Is there any discussion in the audience about this project? Is there any other discussion on the board? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next is 46 Point Road, North Falmouth, for permission to construct a 4-foot by 12-foot second-floor deck, dormers, and to install 144 square feet of native mitigation plantings.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
That's Michael's motion, Mary's second. Is there any discussion on the board? I noticed on here it says revised plan submitted with trees located and work description expanded as required for
Yeah.
with native plantings. Is that something that we're doing?
Well, just for the plantings.
Okay, all right,
It's a small amount. We said we'll do it under the RDA, but that's,
okay, thank you. Is there any discussion in the audience about this project? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next is, the next one is continued to December 10th. And that brings us to 682 Sandwich Road, Hatchville, Mass, for permission to remove bittersweet by hand and install 2 benches and a handicap accessible picnic table.
yes, Mr. Chairman, we're recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
I'm going to go with Mary's motion and Mike's second. Is there any further discussion on the board? Is there any discussion in the audience about this project? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next is 76 Bywater Court, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to replace the existing deck and steps within the same footprint.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
That's Mary's motion, Russell's second. Any further discussion on the board? Is there any discussion from the audience on this project? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next is 24 Grassmere Drive, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to remove 2 black oak trees, minor pruning of linden trees, and to vista prune per regulations of under FWR 10.18.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
That's Russell's motion, Mary's second. Is there any further discussion on the board? Is there any discussion in the audience about this project? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next, we have requests for hearing under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. Good evening. The first one is the Town of Falmouth Engineering Department, 55 Old Dock Road, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to repair the existing wharf that includes, excavating the existing wall, install geotextile fabric, reset the stones, partially dismantle the timber wharf dock, replace damaged timbers and pilings with the same number and size, reconstruct the wooden wharf, grade and repave the wharf parking area, set a new foundation for the shed to be replaced in same footprint, restore salt marsh along the perimeter of the wall on Old Dock Road and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Do you want one?
Good evening. Before you start, I would like to just, if, at this point in time, if anybody has any phones on or that type of thing, if you silence them or shut them off. And we're more than happy for public comment, and if you want to do that, acknowledge the chair and go up to the podium and identify yourself so, for the record. And that's it. Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman. My name is Trey Ruthven from Applied Coastal Research and Engineering, here on behalf of the town Department of Public Works. We're here for 55 Old Dock Road, which is the town wharf in West Falmouth. We're proposing to go out and repair the existing town wharf in kind. The handout I gave out is kind of just a same, which you're going to find actually in the NOI. I just kind of wanted to quickly point out what the features of the site are and what we can walk through it. So here's the town wharf, which actually extends out into West Falmouth Harbor. It was actually constructed originally about 1849. A lot of the walls still actually date back to there with some minor repairs. But the stack wall starts here off to the west, extends along Old Dock Road, and jets out into the harbor, back around, and then extends to the east towards the boat ramp. There's a wood dock facility on the northern face, which will also be repaired during the project. But I just wanted to quickly kind of run through the condition of the structure. If you kind of turn to the handouts, it's just kind of documenting some of the failures that have been ongoing. The first photo is just the wall to the west. It's actually fallen over in the past year. The granite stones are now laying on the salt marsh. Kind of just documenting some of these areas we need to repair. If the next photo, figure 2, documents to the east of the wall, which is over by the boat ramp, which has begun to fail. Kind of just passing through, we're also seeing failures in the wall under the wharf structure, which would be figure 4 and figure 3. And if we kind of proceed through to figure 5 and 6, it's just kind of documenting some of the voids. The original wall was just stacked granite, which means it was just stacked on top. There was no concrete or anything like that. Seen when the structure was constructed, geotextiles and things like that weren't actually in use back then. So it's just literally been hand constructed, and slowly over time with the tidal action, the fines have been pulled out. And over the years, various repairs have been made. They've grouted in between the stones, which actually concretes it up and stops the material from coming out from the inside, but it doesn't allow the stones to actually shift naturally. There's been voids that have formed on the top, and they've been backfilled with various things. We found blacktop, we found concrete, we found just later granular fill material, and just repaved over the top. And also concrete caps have been added along the outside of the wharf structure, not along the section along the road, but just along the wharf structure. We're proposing just to take it down and repair it. At the same time, to get to the front face of the stacked granite wall, we're going to have to remove the wooden deck of the dock that's out front. But looking at the condition of the wood dock, which is there, it's in need of serious repair anyways. All the steel that's under there is corroding. The wood joints where it actually comes in is actually starting to fail and rot. So the whole structure is actually being proposed to be replaced in kind. That'll also allow us the opportunity, the town shellfish warden uses the dock as a staging platform for one of his bubblers to propagate shellfish. And part of the request through the town was to actually upgrade the dock to be able to handle more tanks in the future. So that'll be part of the project of upgrading the dock facility also. And then it's figures 7 and 8, and just kind of showing the general deterioration under the dock. But what we're proposing to go as we go through this is to actually keep all the equipment land-based. That means it'll be actually all landward of the wall. We'll use excavators actually in hand to actually dig behind the wall, slowly come down in layers. You can actually see that in the cross sections, which are on the front page. But excavate behind, restack the wall, use geotextile materials, and just backfill and compact in layers to build it up. One of the issues we're going to have is that we're going to have to actually put men on the seaward side, which will end up being on salt marsh, to actually help the stacking process. Without them actually on the seaward side, we can't get the actual angle properly, and we can't get that face as tight as we'd like to. So we can keep the equipment off the salt marsh, but we will have men down in the bottom of that. So that will be one impact we will be having, but I'll cover the impacts later as I go through the regulations. But we'll go starting at the, kind of the west end, stack the wall, then go all the way around, and then all the way to the east. Each will be put back in kind. We've been asked by the town community preservation to put it back in kind. So there'll be we'll go back to the concrete cap on top. The parking lot, after reconstruction and rebuilding of the wall, will be regraded. That'll actually allow us to use the catchwater system that the town put in, I believe, 2 years ago. So we can grade the parking lot in. We can also grade the parking lot to allow ADA access, so people with wheelchairs can then actually roll out to the dock, because currently there's about a 2 to 3 inch lip on the concrete wall, which prevents that. At the same time, there's the shed that's out there, which is a West Falmouth Sailing Association, I believe. And we'll put a new foundation in for that, and they have proposed to put a new structure back on top at the same size. So largely, nothing will change. It's just a repair job. Kind of quickly running through some of the regulations that we're going to be anticipating. We have land under the ocean. This really kind of borders on where the foundation of the wall is, which is basically all in tidal action areas, and then on the face of the wall where it's actually land under the ocean, which also will encompass the same thing as the land under estuaries under Falmouth wetland regulations. The reconstruction of the wall will provide temporary disturbance to the bottom topography, but will not result in any permanent change. Best practice measures will be used to prevent any material from being lost, kind of turbidity and things like that. We also have a coastal bank. The wharf doesn't act as a typical natural coastal bank, but it does act as an armored coastal bank. The structure's been in place for well over 100 years. There's no fronting beaches along this section of coastline, so this coastal bank isn't providing sediment or storm feeding those. It's also not really disturbing any along-shore sediment transport in the area, because there is no transport being in the harbor and being that there's no coastal beaches right there. The reconstruction of the wall won't actually affect the performance of the existing wall under the coastal bank regulations, both for the state and for the town. We are adjacent to salt marshes. We will be impacting the salt marsh just due to the construction. There's no way really around doing that. So what we're proposing is to keep all the equipment off the salt marsh, and then after doing the project, we will go back and replant the salt marsh on the perimeter of the wall. If you actually look at the plan I gave you, you can see the area in orange is the areas of salt marsh we'll be impacting, and that's basically to the east and west along Old Dock Road. As we go further out, there is no salt marsh around the outside perimeter of the actually wharf that sticks out into the harbor. We also had comments from Department of Marine Fisheries on that, and they just asked us the same thing, as to make a condition that we don't actually put equipment on the salt marsh, just manpower, and limited to the extent practicable, not to dispose of any construction material on the salt marsh, and to restore the salt marsh when we're completed, which are all conditions we were fine with living with and plan to do anyways. We also have land containing shellfish. The areas that we'll be disturbing are just at the base of the wall again. We don't anticipate any permanent impacts, and actually part of the project with upgrading the dock on the north face of this will actually help shellfish propagation within the town. And the last bylaw which we fall under is the land at coastal storm flowage. The wharf is low-lying and actually doesn't really disturb coastal storm flowage during a storm. None of the repairs will actually alter that in any way, because we're building everything back to the existing grades and to the existing conditions, just with the new state of repair. Any questions?
I'm sure there will be.
Excellent.
Thank you. Jen?
Actually, I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman. I met Peter and Trey out in the field, and we discussed all my concerns then.
Okay. Mary?
I guess I'd like to hear a little more about the activity on the salt marsh, such as how many people are going to be involved in that work, and roughly how long is it going to take?
What we're proposing as we deconstruct this wall is to do it in sections, because we'll be working around the tide being high and low. So we've actually had a couple contractors out to the site to kind of talk about how they go about this and different methodologies for doing this. Likely we would be taking like a 10 to 15 foot section at a time, deconstructing at low tide all the way down to the foundation and stacking back up. On the seaward side, we're going to try to limit our salt marsh area, where people will be standing, to about 3 linear feet off the wall, so kind of encompass it. And we've actually proposed kind of staking that, just to kind of give them a visual reference so they don't extend any further. But really what that job is on the salt marsh is, as the equipment operator is operating from the backside, is to kind of help place that face. We want a slight angle backwards, so the gravity feed so the wall is not hanging, kind of protruding out. And it's really just to ensure that placement. So really, it's just rock fitters. And a lot of this work is almost handwork. You have equipment to lift the stones because they're heavy, but we're using the same kind of existing granite, which can be manipulated by hand. So it's really just kind of fitting that rock and then chinking back in. So really, their job is literally just to help place these stones and then to chink back in. So they'll be kind of progressing, but we'll probably have 2 or 3 sections giving at a time, one being higher where they can work at high tides where there's backfilling and compacting and putting the geotextile material behind, and then lower sections, so as the tide comes down throughout the day, they can kind of do the foundation area. So they'll keep marching around along the outside of it. Obviously, we'll plan to do the northern side, which would actually not be affecting the salt marsh, but around the dock, probably around spring tides, so we get the lowest tides, so we can actually get down to the foundation under generally dry conditions.
Okay, I was wondering how much time on the clock
Oh,
this is going to take.
how long? I'm anticipating.
Working time.
Working time. I'm anticipating this project will probably run 3 to 4 months. It'll be a fairly long project working on the tides, and they'll also be doing it in the wintertime. But yeah, I'd imagine start to finish, it'd probably be about a 3 to 4 month process.
Okay, and the salt marsh is going to be affected that whole time, pretty much.
It will be. It'll be foot traffic on top, which is why we're proposing to go back and then replant after the process is done. So yes, I am anticipating like a temporary impact, but I do anticipate to come back.
Okay, and I think you said something about restoring the substrate.
Exactly. There was a couple of different ideas. One was to actually excavate the salt marsh substrate, which I didn't think was a positive idea, and then take it off-site and then bring it back. I think, which wasn't really practical or actually I think in the long term sustainable. So the idea is to, if we somehow damage the substrate, is to actually bring back in peat, try to level it off as much as practical, and then replant on top of that, just to make sure that the salt marsh plants, when we put them back in, have positive footing going forward.
Okay, and do you plan to work with the commission on that, with the staff on that, or?
Absolutely. I mean, we've already, had Jen out to the site, I think more than once, just to kind of talk about different ideas and how to go about that. So I don't see that changing at all.
Okay.
It is.
You're not going to have a separate contractor? Maybe you would.
I believe the town will put this out to bid, so there will be an outside contractor coming in. The town will not be conducting this or doing construction internally, if that's.
The salt marsh, the restoration is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it'd be part of the bid as it goes out for construction, is that they would have to hire a salt marsh restoration expert to come back in and then replant the salt marsh.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Did you say that this whole thing is going to be pitched back towards that catch basin on Old Dock?
So we have the catch basins on Old Dock Road, so we have the surface of the parking lot. We're going to slowly slope that back to the catch basins on Old Dock Road.
Okay, any thought given to alternative surfaces, like shells, 3/4 native stone, or anything like that? Maybe the aid in drainage?
The biggest problem, what we want to avoid is instead of actually, percolating all this material in, because we're going back to a stacked granite wall, even with the geotextiles, is that we don't want to be percolating, that freshwater recharge back out into there and actually destabilizing the wall again. So it's actually better to keep that coming into solid pipes and dispose of it that way. That way it won't actually destabilize the wall and shorten the life of the project.
Mike.
I guess the big question is siltation control. You're going to be working below the water table on the inboard side?
We shouldn't have a large siltation issue. Part of the issue is just how we're doing this. We're going to be working around the tides, so I don't anticipate any actually areas to be below the tide level at any given time. They're not going to be working in the wet. they're always going to be shifting, kind of trying to stay in the dry because of you're having to put people in the water. We could easily put up siltation curtains. We currently hadn't because just with the tide signal or the tide where it is and the topography as it is, I didn't really want to put siltation curtains on top of the existing salt marsh. It's further out. Because right now, the area outside of the 3 feet we're anticipating influencing right now all becomes drier because it has a few inches of water at low tide. So if we start putting siltation curtains on areas that are that close, we could start disturbing further areas of salt marsh, which we are trying to avoid.
You're at some tide along that northerly face.
Along the northerly face, along the dock section, actually, having walked under the dock section, actually, if you, at the far end of the dock, you can obviously pull up a boat. It gets deep fairly quickly. But actually, if you walk up under the dock, up to the wall, at low tide, it has just a few inches of water in there.
So you don't see this excavation behind the wall creating a liquid that flows through the wall and out?
No, we've actually dug a test hole behind the wall, and all the
Okay.
material is granular in nature, sand, gravel, backfill. We're going to try to keep the areas, take down at low tide, build back up, and then seal it off as we kind of work around the tide. I don't expect large turbidity plumes or anything like that, just due to the nature of the work. We're not going to be, doing large excavations with, track hose or things like that, where we would be disturbing large amounts of sediment in the water.
The material you're excavating behind the wall will be stockpiled landward?
We'll have the park, we're going to stockpile in sections, so we'll be using the parking lot that's up there as a stockpile area. We've also talked about, there's the town parking lot and adjacent to the bike path that we could be used as an additional stockpile area. If anything needs to be taken off site and it'll be held for a long period of time, we could then use the DPW yard to keep material that's being removed for any extended period of time and then brought
Okay,
back on site as needed.
If you're moving truckloads of material along that road, some kind of controls, be sure you're not dripping something on the road as you go along.
No, obviously. And we don't anticipate large quantities of material having to be moved at any given time. The material that's actually in there is actually granular and fill material, so we can actually
Well, it's good to hear.
put back in place. There will be some, obviously, new granite brought in place. It'll obviously be the pink granite that's currently out there due to requests around town. But we anticipate it being able to use a lot of material over again. The one thing that we will have to replace is when we're doing the dock section, we are anticipating putting all brand new piles in, all new stringers, and new decking in place. So that will have to be brought in place at the end of the project.
Okay.
But that will happen after everything else is done.
Last one for me, there was a stake in the ground at the extreme west end that said limit of work, and the wall goes beyond that. Are you planning to repair that wall or no?
I haven't been on site to see that stake, but if you're standing on the wharf looking to the west,
Yes.
you have a section of wall, and there's a short pier that goes out, and then the wall extends beyond that, and then there's a house at the far western end where we plan on fixing the wall from where it runs into that adjoining property all the way back to the wharf, which would
Okay.
be,
I was just looking at there is a break in the wall,
yes.
and there was a stake at that far west end of that said limit of work.
The entire wall section, if you walk along the wall section, you can see where it's starting to slump, at least along Old Dock Road, partially due to, I think, just bushes being cut over the years,
That's-
material rotting out from the roots decomposing and just losing material just due to natural tide action. But that entire wall section will be taken down and repaired, so to...
Good. I'm a big one, and if we're going to do it once, let's do it. Hold on. That was my only question. That's it.
John?
Just to piggyback off of Mike a little bit, it looks like in the diagrams, like the section B diagram, that the lowest stone that you're going to be taking out goes below the mean low water. You're saying that that's not going to affect excavating the dirt behind the wall?
No, I mean, we're taking it down to basically mean low water. We've kind of probed around the base, and the foundation actually looks to be in very good condition, just because it's always submerged and there isn't a whole lot of tidal action there,
Right.
because it's just, so we're gonna take it down to basically grade level, or maybe one stone below grade level, reset the stone, stabilize, and then start,
But you're counting on the water level being below the stones there.
Well, we're likely, maybe the first base stone will be wet, possibly, but we don't anticipate digging, we're not going to be 4 feet below, the water table or anything like that. It would be, right at the low tide level.
Okay.
And actually being at, mean low water, it actually, the tides still drop below mean low water, so it's kind of where we're anticipating working around the tides, that we'll
Right.
actually be able to do most of this in the dry. And as we get to the outer sections where it does get a little deeper, we can, start planning around, as we have this tidal cycle, and we're going to be out there for months and start to use spring tides to actually generate that possibility of staying dry.
Okay, I think that's it.
Well, let's see. On the western side of that, did you see any groundwater breakthrough on that? Because just a little further west, on that cove.
Yep.
I've witnessed groundwater coming through that stonework. So I was just wondering if you've encountered anything on this side of the boat ramp that.
Having been out there, 5 or 6 times, is like literally poking around and really looking at it, I've not seen groundwater coming out.
Okay.
But it wouldn't surprise me, if we've had, a large surplus of rain, especially as we, come into the spring, where, we have snow melt off, rains continuously, that there will be some seepage through there. All the material along there, and I imagine most of the roadway, which is fill likely itself, is all granular, and so it drains fairly well. The geotextile will allow water through it, so we're really not anticipating a big loss there. But what we want to do is prevent that fine from being washed out, which is, partially from groundwater, partially from tidal action,
Okay.
kind of a mixture of different functions. But it wouldn't surprise me if there are some, but I have not seen it in any of my visits.
Yeah, like a spring type of thing going
No.
through? Okay. You answered my timeline. Is there a contractor chosen for this?
No, not yet.
And there'll be one of the conditions, I'm pretty sure, is going to be having an on-site happy
It's already
thing.
written down.
That's I'm doing that just to repeat myself. Something that, it's something that needs to be done, but on here, it says sheeting, I love this, may be required during construction. And there's another little line in here. Excavate foundation 1 stone below grade seaward of the wall or as directed by engineer and reconstruct the stacked stone wall. Who's the engineer that's going to be making that determination?
It'll be Peter as a town engineer, and then us, because we'll be there on site monitoring the construction work which is going on.
Is that a once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and they call you if they run into a problem type of thing, or?
The schedule for inspections has not been set yet. But yes, I mean, obviously, we will always be available for any problem that's ever occurs. We always are. But I imagine somebody would be on site definitely on a regular basis to address any issues.
And
Thank
see,
you, Trey. We'll put in for an environmental monitor as well.
And if you want to answer that, Pete, that's
Yeah,
fine.
just real quick, yeah, Peter McConerty, town engineer. Yeah, we will have someone on site at all times on that site. We had the same thing on Chappaquiddick seawall, and we did it too.
Yep.
Works out well, and if something does happen that we do need consultation with the engineer, they're right in Mashpee, they can be there within an hour, for half an hour, so it works out well. We will have somebody on site.
And verbalizing that gives me a huge comfort level, as
Yeah.
it should others. It's just
Yes.
something that, we're afforded the knowledge of that, but others may not, so just having that in the record makes it a little more palatable for most.
Right.
Because this is gonna be affecting an area of town that's very, very used. And people are gonna wanna know how long and why it's taken so long, and what are you doing, and, I was planning on doing X, Y, Z, people that aren't here right now this time of year come back in the spring, and, you're mucking up the works. you know, they're gonna have a lot of questions. I can guarantee that. If you have a point person who's knowledgeable about the project, which I'm sure you can find somebody that can answer questions,
Yeah.
a liaison, because I really think you're gonna have to respond to that once in a while. That road, I bang this drum quite a bit, site management. You know, and it's not just for the site itself, but the workers there as well. Because sometimes people traversing that area have other thoughts. It's such a beautiful area, they're not really paying attention to, as brightly colored or vestige as you may be, it's not always a safe place to do things.
Yeah.
It can get very congested. This time of year, not so much, but when you're gonna be doing this, and potentially your start date hopefully is,
Just I wanted to clarify that also. There's going to be two budget sides to this project. The first budget side already went through town meeting this past November and was passed under the CPC account. The CPC will fund all the restoration of the wall, the historic portion of the project. And in the spring, our anticipation is in the spring, we're going to be going back to town meeting for the remainder of the project to take care of the paving and the ADA accessibilities and the wharf and all the other incidental items. So we're planning, it wouldn't, if we go for spring funding, the project would not start until after the summer season when the boat, when the recreation boat is, and that dies down. Probably sometime after Labor Day, getting into mid-September. It's still busy down there, but it's not as busy, September into October, November.
that's gonna make a lot of people happy, and it's gonna make other people not so happy.
Right.
So, thank you for the timeline, but the sheeting may be required during construction. How do you anticipate installation, and would that be in the same segments as you're going, or would it be a monolithic
It's just a
to help? So you're only doing it once?
The
Or-
sheeting note is in place. After talking to various contractors, some would like it, some feel it's unnecessary. We're kind of in the opinion that it's unnecessary, but we want to leave the option open if need be. It would be kind of directed to do it in the sections where they're working as opposed to being a monolithic structure they're trying to dewater. That's kind of unpractical for a dewatering standpoint if they're trying to do something like that. I also think the biggest issue with sheeting in that area is if you look at the bottom type, it's rock, cobble, so getting any kind of decent drive into the sheet to actually, provide that working space, I think it would be cost prohibitive for the contractor, and likely not very, I just don't see it working. But since we were asked about it, we decided to actually include it in the drawings and just be straightforward that, this might be an option that is requested.
And I'll be honest with you, I can see this project moving forward without that.
I can also, but
And I do not believe, as presented, that's a part of the project that's necessary. I think we got, your timeline is not so compressed that you wouldn't be able to deal with the tides and other things. And it also would kind of, then it really is a crunch time. If you got somebody in there at 3 foot and they're, got a 900-pound stone and all of a sudden somebody hiccups and the boom goes out, you got a chocolate mess.
yes.
So, as far as this commissioner is concerned, I know that I'm not in favor of that, and that when we do vote on this, that would be something I, as an individual, would not be in favor of.
The only section I would actually ask to, or possibly be left in, is possibly along the northern section at the deep end where we're going to be removing a dock, just in case there's actually conditions out there where they might need to drive something like that. It'll be easier because there's less cobble out in that area, but also the deeper water where it might become, a
And
potential issue.
just to be clear, that's underneath the dock where you had said it goes, where you walked underneath and came up to.
Yes.
Would that be beneficial, not at 5 foot, but slightly further out, so that you're getting away from that first row of piles and such, so that you're on?
Yeah, in that area, there is no salt marsh out there, so a 3-foot barrier, which we were talking about, is really kind of constrained along the salt marsh areas, which are along Old Dock Road, east and west, because we don't want to disturb the salt marsh. As we go out further, if they need a little extra room under the dock area, because we're disturbing that area, I would request that, we be able to extend that slightly. I apologize for the 3 foot all the way around, but it's really just in the salt marsh where we're really trying to constrain our impact.
And I think that if this was something that was approved, that we could put some language in there to give you the caveat of being able to, with approval from the staff before doing so, and a dimension of no more than 10 feet out.
Sure.
That would give you some flexibility from 4 feet to 6 feet is what I'm anticipating would
Yep.
be a reasonable thing, but within that 10 foot at the north end.
Yeah,
of the-
extending from the western side of the dock to the eastern side of the dock on that outer face, which extends most into West Falmouth Harbor.
That would be something that I could see being put in as a condition. I think I don't know if I have anything more at this moment in time, but at this point, I would like to open up to anyone in the audience. If they have any comments or questions about this project, please come up, identify yourself at the podium, and we'd be more than happy to entertain things. Please.
Maureen Harlow, Hawks, 9 Old Dock Road, and I would first like to really commend the engineering department. They've worked long and hard on this project, and I've been working with Peter through this, and it's a very thought-out process. The only question that I have is with the CPC funds, people in West Falmouth want to make sure that when it says stone replacement, that it is the West Falmouth pink granite that the CPC funds were originally asked for this historic restoration. I'm sure Peter has an answer for that.
Yeah, actually, there is, what will happen is well, we use all the stone that's in the wall, and there's other stone that they'll be able to fish out and pressure wash and get out that's already caved in. But we have approximately 50 or 60 pieces of stone over behind on another area in town, so we'll be able to, we're going to utilize. I already have it isolated, and we will be reusing that stone. What we're trying to do is we want to have enough stone to do that whole wall. I think it was mentioned in the past that if we had to use some gray, we'd be down below the water line, but we want to use as much pink as we can get and make sure that we can get it. So.
Thank you. Second question, the timeline for the granite part is going to be in the winter, and as Tom brought out, it's, even though the summer people are gone, the winter people do come out in droves. And the bike path is, sunset is a crazy time, which you'll be done by then. And I just hope that it is marked well. It's a very dangerous curve, and to make sure that for the safety purposes, that's done for the people that are going to be traversing that road. And then the last thing is, I know at one point there was a talk about some kind of connective walkway, because where the bike path is, it's heavily traveled, and you can basically only walk on the north side. People do try to walk on the south side of Old Dock, but it's really vegetated and difficult, so they always cross over. And if that's been incorporated in this plan, that there will be some, the way the guardrail is right now, there, you have to walk in the road. So if the fencing is going to be moved closer to the granite wall and some kind of walkway is there, whether it be grass or just, you know, a beaten path for people, but currently the pressure-treated guardrail makes it really dangerous because people have to walk in the road. So that was the only thing, if that's incorporated. But your presentation was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you got two sides of the coin on there. You got the good and the questions of, and I think that's going to be the success of this, is being able to manage the site because it is so active there. And I'm going to be, you gotta do that, and there's humor in that, but it's also something that, it can be softly spoken, but it impacts a lot.
True.
And it was, I'll mirror Maury's thing, it was a very good presentation. And one of the things that I enjoy about it is that there was no pause in it. You've rehearsed this or practiced or lived it, you know what I mean? And that's evident with staff and such. So, is there any other further discussion in the audience or questions? Is there any other further discussion on the board? I could entertain a motion, because I believe this has a DEP.
Make a motion
Yes,
to
it
close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
That's Russell's motion. Mike's second. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And moving along, next is 146 Old Dock Road, West Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise, that's R-A-Z-E, the existing dwelling and construct a single-family, four-bedroom house with attached garage, porch, and deck with stairs, install Title V sewage disposal systems, utilities, dry wells, gravel driveway, stone wall to be cleared and repaired, and the associated excavating, grading, and landscaping. Good evening, Jeff. That'll be for us. Thank you. Jen?
Good evening. Any of my questions to after Jeff's presentation?
Sorry about that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Good evening, I'm Jeff Ryder with BSS Design, representing David Wald, who's going to build this project here in West Falmouth. This is at 146 Old Dock Road at the intersection of Chappaquay Road and Old Dock. This is an old dwelling here. It's about, well, it dates quite a while back. It's a cottage-style home. It is in need of repair. Its first floor is at elevation 1165, which is, you can see we're in a AE18 flood zone, so it's several feet below the possible flood, the 100-year storm. So, you know, looking into trying to renovate that, it just turns into a substantial improvement requiring lifting of the house, and that house just wouldn't work with lifting it up 9 feet. So we propose to reconstruct more or less on the same footprint, moving a little closer to the road, generating a little more yard on this side. There's the main part of the house is in where the existing house is, with a deck and a porch. You can see the elevation of the first floor is at 19. This is by code. This is 1 foot over elevation 18 required in your regulations. That's the first floor. So there'll be a drive-under situation here. The driveway comes in here. There'll be a 2-car garage, backup area here. We have a septic system proposed in the driveway here and a reserve septic tank here. 2 cesspools are to be removed and filled. In the proposal, we also have a series of dry wells for the roof runoff. And then we're held here by the limit of work, which I say excavation here in parentheses, meaning that there's no earthwork occurring here except for, you know, we're going to do some wall repair work. You'll see in a couple of spots in the plan, we show the wall to be cleared of all the brush and suckers that are growing up through it, and sort of restacked. Some areas are falling down. It's been several years since that's been repaired. So those are the main items. It's the reconstruction of the house, gravel driveway, septic, repair the wall. And one last thing that's important to you, I'm sure, there is an English holly here. And the reason we're proposing to take it out is for the view. And we're proposing to bring 3 trees here, cedar trees, into this corner. That is just within the limits of the salt marsh 100-foot buffer. Now, the marsh is over across the street. You know the Sylvie job pretty well, I'm sure. That's the salt marsh we offset, and that's the line of 100 feet from that marsh. Again, going back to the flood zone, we have a velocity zone here with a 25-foot setback, barely coming on the lot. That transitions into the AE 15, and then that goes over towards the bike path, the flood zone. So the whole lot is in the flood zone, and that's why we're here. So any questions?
Thank you, Jeff. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So you're removing all of the vegetation along that wall? And you're not proposing to put any of it back, or, no?
No, the wall has, if you've looked at it, we're not taking these trees that are on the wall. That's all staying. It's just clearing the brush that's growing up through the wall, causing it to tumble. You know, there's a lot of
So
root.
basically, all of the brush along the wall, Jeff? You're probably gonna get rid of it all, correct?
I'm not sure you're making it out to, you know, it's not, we're not being sinister to tear everything out. It's just that,
I'm just saying that you're calling it brush,
yeah,
and Mark Kaspers is calling it excellent wildlife habitat. So, whatever is removed will need to be replaced because it's within the 100-foot buffer to the salt marsh. So I'd like to see that on the plan. That's all. So find out exactly what they want to remove, how they're going to do it, and how much they're going to remove, and compensate for it. That's all. And mitigate for it.
okay. Well, I thought you wouldn't mind a nice looking stone wall being rehabbed, but there is a bunch of brush. Mark can call it whatever he wants, but it's really, you know, material that's causing the wall to tumble down, you know. Just like
And
the
I'm
last
not saying
project.
put it in the wall, Jeff, and I'm not
Just like the
saying
last
not-
project, there was, you know, a major seawall going to be repaired because there's things causing it to fall down. Same thing here.
And
Jack,
if I can correct it, one moment, please. And I appreciate you referencing that. And there's also restoration that's going to be done on some of that area as well. So be mindful that, promote your project, please. Don't try to, I'm going to take exception to trying to twist other things, all right? You have a project
I'm not
that's
saying
very
it's
promotable. but don't-
it's a harmless little project. It's just just fixing up a wall that needs to have some brush taken.
And that's where I want you to go with it, Jeff, okay? Could you please pass those down?
And
All
on the-
I'm saying is, like, it just says
You said it.
stone wall to be cleared. It doesn't mean 3 feet on either side to go through and strip it down of everything. It's just, sorry.
All
It's
I'm
a
asking,
harmless
Jeff, is to
repair.
possibly have the board consider mitigating whatever shrubs are taken out that's causing the wall to fall. I'm not saying don't repair it. And you're probably not gonna like this statement, but the holly tree, your regs say that holly trees and beech trees should not be removed. So that is gonna be a discretion, up to the board. But in 10-18, I think it's 10, I'm sorry, 10-18, 9, 11. Yeah, it says red cedar trees should not, may not be removed, but that American hollies and beeches should not. So that does give you the discretion on whether or not to allow the holly to be removed and replaced with red cedar. Those are my only comments. Other than that, I have no issues with the project.
Can I just make one more comment, please?
Please.
I did have Grafton Briggs out at the site, and, you know, over here, there is an American holly, very hardy, nice tall tree. This one is a little more, you know, wispy. Well, I'll say it's an English holly. It's probably a little bit out of place, but it was planted there once. So that's why we're proposing to remove that one and not, of course, touch that one.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, we'll open it up, John.
I don't know if this really has to do with everything, but I'm kind of interested in the septic system and how that works. I've never seen that before. Can you talk a little bit about that? The septic system you're proposing to put in there?
It's very standard, really. These are a field of infiltrators. They're a plastic unit. They're H20, meaning you can drive over them with a bigger vehicle. The septic tank is here, a standard 1,500-gallon tank with a pipe entering here, exiting here to the D-box. D-box distributes it to the field.
And it's they're shallow.
Right. On the your second page, we'll show the low-profile setup there with the correct distance to groundwater.
That 5-foot distance on this end, that's what, they need a minimum of 4 foot.
Okay.
So that's why that's why they're created, and they grew horizontally as opposed to vertically
Right.
back in the day.
Right, yeah. That's neat. It's new to me, so,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Mike?
It's totally outside my jurisdiction here, but there is some granite support for that existing house in the corner, on the northeast corner.
Just
If that
on the
is gonna be
existing house?
used, the town could surely use that pink granite for the dock down there.
Well, I can't say,
I'm happy with I've heard my question, but I saw it more pink today, granite today than I've seen in a long time, so I just figured it's meant to be.
you're right, it is on posts.
And some of them are concrete and some of them pink
I
granite.
don't know if it's, the right gauge.
I don't, I'm just bringing it up, that's, no obligations on my part.
Okay.
No other questions?
Russ?
Jeff, could you give me a little of the methodology on exactly how you're gonna repair the wall? How would that work? You're gonna take the stone out and then you're
No,
gonna
it's
cut all
just-
the brush, or?
This is the areas that, what I saw, there's vegetation that has grown up and that's pushed the wall over in spots. And so we want to just,
So it's random, you're not doing the whole wall, you're just gonna do
no, it's
sections?
just fixing the wall that's come down. Maybe get some of it, that up at the top where it's loose, kind of just get it into better shape. We're not going to tear it down and put it back, just,
Okay.
it's a touch-up, basically.
So, are you just taking out vegetation where you need to move those stones? Is that all that's?
Right, right. I mean, a lot of it's just suckers that are, so big around, that have come up through the wall.
So, I mean, it's not like clear cut and boom, start over again, just using the same stuff,
Right.
just repair as necessary.
And it looks like there's just two spots that you pointed to. Is there just two spots on the wall that need to be repaired?
Well, no, that was just saying that it's both legs. We just want to go down the whole thing and, tidy it up. Just sort of,
It's just a little confusing, I guess.
Okay. And we'll come back to that in a moment.
I mean, it's, I'm not looking to tear it down to the ground. It's just,
And if,
You know,
I
it
want
was-
to let some of the board members speak.
I guess it's the way it's written, Jeff.
It's
You know what I
just
mean?
vague.
It's stone wall to be cleared
And
and repaired. Maybe it should have said cleared from brush or, because when I first looked at it, I said,
well, we could condition that and throttle this
You know.
back if you think that's too aggressive sounding, but
I mean, it's just, there's some natural stuff, and I agreed with what Mark, looked at. When I looked at it, I was like, geez, I hate to see it all get chopped out of there. Just like I hate to see that 12-inch holly go.
That's what I'm saying, mitigate for the brush that's being removed. Put back some wildlife habitat value to the lot that you're removing from the lot, that's all.
that's fine.
One moment. Before I open up to that, I'd like to poll the board, get this all out there so that if there's more information you want to provide, you'd be able to do it all at once. Okay.
I'm good, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
Mary?
I just have two little things. Just to clarify the discussion that was just had, that note about stone wall to be cleared, you do mean that to say cleared of brush? I mean, that's, okay,
Yes.
all right. And then the only other thing is in section 4 of your narrative, you talk about the areas of proposed work included in the flood zone. The last item says remove the limit of work and install voluntary native shrubs. Is that really the 3 cedars?
Oh, that should be the,
Is
yeah.
it, you mean the 3 cedars, or is there another plan for shrubs?
That probably meant to say that, so,
Well, then maybe, well, there will be voluntary, not
Yeah.
voluntary, but
right.
Required.
required native shrubs. Okay, thank you, that's all.
And just so that, I'm gonna let you pick on that one.
All right.
What I'm curious about is the clearing of the wall. I really don't have an issue with it because I believe I understand what you're saying. It caused some confusion and some angst, and that's why I just, you have areas as deep as I am to those chairs in certain areas that, are you going to take all of that material or just the stuff that's right next to the wall? Are you going to leave the growth that's random and outgoing, or are you taking just within a foot of the wall and cutting it and repairing the wall and leaving the stuff that still continues to shade the wall or let the wall not be seen? That's what was, when you're saying clearing, and you're taking all that vegetation out, the stuff that's tipping the wall and the other material, it's the other material within jurisdiction that I think can cause an issue. That's where mitigation and planting, taking the holly out, which is, you heard the administrator quote the regulation, and it is more sparse than the other one. It isn't as robust as the other one. That I can see, because you're also creating a view, that was how you started this off, they were gonna take it for the view. And part of that, and putting in vistas and such, you're taking away one portion of that, that if you're creative and with the staff's input, where the cedars are gonna go, make an island of maintainable vegetation as part of a mitigation point to your advantage, so that you're not gonna have stuff that creeps into the wall. And after your efforts of making it look nice, so that when people drive by, they go, wow, I never knew that was there, but you're not taking everything, because when you cut that stuff, people are gonna go, oh my God, I didn't know that was there. Because part of it you don't see, it is covered. So I think there's gonna be a balance that has to be met, so as to compensate for the holly, and for the other vegetation, it's outside of the stuff that literally is a mechanical connection to the wall. You can see, because there is some, despite its function as a wall, it also has a function of a certain amount of habitat. It truly does. So, outside of that, I don't have anything else, but I think Mike does.
Could you give us a description of what the breakaway panels look like?
There's no breakaway panels in this. This will have typical flood vents in the lower level,
Velocity zone.
but this isn't in the V zone, it's in the A zone, A18.
Okay.
So it does go up to, 1 foot over, and if you look at the ground elevation, you got 9 and 18, so there it's, just by the fact that, you got that separation, it creates a whole floor out of the ground, so they're gonna have storage in the garage underneath,
Okay.
and then the story and a half above.
Thank you.
No bathroom on the first floor?
Well, you can't have any habitable
Oh,
space
that's
down
like,
there,
that's
so-
from, That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, you can have an entry area
Yeah,
in an A zone
yeah,
by code and by what the building department allows,
yeah.
but there can't be any large finished areas in the lower level.
By finished floors, we include bathrooms.
Yeah, no bathrooms. No
I'm
mechanical
just,
space,
because this thing
no
is
no
going to be
outlets
connected
down low.
this thing is going to be connected to a septic system, and in theory, the septic system goes under.
Right. Well,
Okay, I'm happy, I'm just
Don't
making.
have to worry about it, it
Yeah,
won't
I'm
be
not-
there.
It's been thought of, that's fine.
Yes. Are there any further questions on the board? At this point, I'll open up to the audience. Is there any discussion anybody wants in the audience? Please come up and just identify yourself for the record, please.
Hello, I'm David Wald, I'm the builder, and I'm building this to sell. As far as the stone wall is, I want to do what's best for West Falmouth and the environment. It doesn't, it's the right thing to do for the house I put there. It's what I assume the buyer would want. So there's no real bad issue, we just have to figure out through staff what you'd like. There's a lot of big trees not intended to come down. With my little knowledge of it, it just said, well, it'd be nice to show the stone wall, maybe we'd clean it up some. There was no real specifics. But we could just find out what that is that works best, and that's a done deal. The holly, I think in that regulation, you didn't say that an English holly, they weren't referring to an English holly. They said an
American holly and beech tree should not be cut.
Right. This is an English holly, and, you know, I like it also, but it's like right in the middle of the view. And it's a beautiful view of West Falmouth, and that's why people would love to be out there. And then there's mitigation, we have the trees growing. So, just wanted to say that.
And, thank you. Because that tree does fall in jurisdiction anyways, it would probably come up for discussion if it was a pine of that size of an oak. It would be something that, there would be this similar discussion, just because it's a more aesthetic tree or more exotic, just spurred that conversation, which would have been inevitable. Thank you. Is there any other further discussion? Please.
Maury Harlow Hawks, 9 Old Dock Road. The wall issue is a issue that I hope that you make sure you have the top of the wall elevation prior to the reconstruction and removal of vegetation. Across the street, the wall was quite contentious, that it was a dry wall, and then it became a mortared wall, and it actually became a big issue. So I think it is a beautiful, native, natural-looking rubble stone wall. The question I have, are they also going to clear the vegetation on the town road layout side or just on the owner's property side? Because that wasn't made clear. If it's,
None of that was made very clear, this whole wall issue.
yeah, well, because if you're protecting and trying to salvage the wall from more damage from the vegetation, there's a lot of vegetation on the town road layout side. So if they are going to remove, I would just hope that they get in touch with engineering. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because it's a tight corner there, it's bad, for people to walk, it's bad visibility, and if they are going to do this, and there's mitigation, and they work with the town on this corner, that they don't put any more structure or plantings in the town road layout, and that the wall is kept a native-looking, dry-laid stone wall, no mortar, no capstone, no blockage of flowage of water, and it becomes a structure instead of just a wall. And I think that you need to have the elevation of that wall, the top of that wall, shown on a plan prior to the beginning of this work, and if they do work on it, at the end. And that would just be my recommendation, so that it's not a big issue at the end of the project for when they want to get compliance. Thank you.
It's almost like you've done this before. Thank you. I do appreciate it. That was something that somebody else had written down, my oversight on mine. The benchmark for that conversation was made across the street. It was not made by the applicant. So I'm,
He said he brought up the solar project.
well, he did. So that door's open, and I'm glad that it was opened, and it creates an avenue for Jeff to pursue as far as the town land is concerned. Just some kind of acknowledgement that that activity is going to be fine. I think the top of the wall elevation is going to be critical. Within once bitten, twice shy. We don't, particularly where it is, in that high volume area where everybody's going to go, oh my God, I'm going to buy that house. Look at that beautiful wall, instead of, oh my God, look what the hell he did. You know, that's two different things. And I know that you can make a beautiful wall. So I think you're taking all the information that we're getting and processing it in a real positive manner.
I got one more comment
Please.
for that. You'll also notice that, you know, here the heavy line is the road layout line.
On that side.
And the wall is, you know, inside of it. So we could, you know, have somebody on either side of the wall, you know, keeping it tumbling over. Again, when David, the applicant, was thinking about fixing up this wall, it was, I mean, we weren't talking capstones or mortar or nothing like that. Just where it's fallen down, you know. Again, if you're here, you could put, there is room to, you know, have somebody on the outside and not be in the town layout, or just, you know, up to it. So there's a couple feet here, maybe even 3 feet on this side.
And that activity is, I don't think you're meeting opposition of that activity. It's just that because it's on the town layout, some acknowledgement.
I mean, we just really want to show off a nice historic wall.
Yes, you do.
You mentioned it earlier. Oh, God, there's a wall there, you know?
And I just need, because it's not your land, I'll put it that way, it's not your land, now you need to talk, and that's how it's gonna be. I'm gonna tell you that now you need to go to the town and get a letter acknowledging the activities on that property. That's as simple as it's gonna get. I can try gift bows and all that and try to be delicate about it, but if I have to be real black and white, I'm in the mood this week to be real black and white. So, take away, are we gonna need to have a continuance for the changes that are gonna happen in this plan? Because if the tree goes, he's gonna have to have more mitigation than just the 3 cedars.
Then yes, we will need to, and maybe it would be helpful if I met them on site. They could show me exactly where they need to do the repair, and we can kind of help them along on what might have to be replaced. And then that way you can talk to Peter and get a letter as well.
Okay, now, and I don't mean to slow a project down, because the steps that we're taking now, as Maury had said, was when you go for your
Oh, and you need an
compliance,
elevation.
when you don't get this muddied up now, and you go to get your compliance, it's gonna be a breeze, all right?
Sounds like we're all on the same page.
Good.
You're gonna need the top elevation of that wall too, Jeff.
Well, it varies so much. It varies probably a foot.
Well, then show it on your plan.
Can you guys give
The
an
top of the
average,
wall
maybe,
is the
Jeff?
top of the wall. I don't wanna see a grade change
Why does
from
it try to
4 foot over here to 6 inches over there. If it's a median, that's one of the beauties of having staff out there now. We're gonna get feedback from staff about the general condition of this. You wanna stomp on my toes and pick things apart. I'm all up for it, Jeff. I really am.
Jeff, how long do you think we might need for a continuance?
I just called Dave for, there's a purchase sales mixed into this too, so we're trying to figure this out.
Okay.
Well, the problem is that your next hearing is
Next week.
Next week or the
next week and the week
17th?
after.
Is the
But
17th.
we have to
The
have.
17th, you would probably be the only continuance allowed on the 17th. I'm keeping that one real short.
So because we have to have that plan in a week prior to 17.
I can get out there with you Friday, Jeff. How about that?
Yep.
That would work for me, does it work for you?
Okay, so we're going to continue to the
We'll
17th.
continue to the
if that works.
17th, and
That's-
I will
that's
meet
your-
you gentlemen on site on Friday. Contact me tomorrow with a time.
I hear the
How's that,
applicant's,
Mr. Chairman?
the applicant's requesting a continuance.
Yes, at the request of the applicant. I move that we continue the hearing to December 17th.
Second.
Mary's motion, John's second. Jeff, are you clear on what we're expecting and what staff is so graciously condensing and meeting you out there on Friday for? Are you happy with that?
I have a list,
Yeah,
Jeff,
it's mostly mitigation for the wall and the tree, but,
and your elevationable.
right, I got that.
You gotta get your survey,
I
guys.
got about 10 things right here.
Okay,
Outstanding.
good.
Now, the meeting is on this Friday, what's that, 12 what?
Fifth.
Yeah.
Fine.
The 5th, call me tomorrow, Jeff, with the time that works for you, okay? My schedule is fairly free on Friday,
Very good.
okay?
And then in that, you have the town letter happy crap, right?
Oh, yeah, you need a letter from Peter, call him tomorrow.
Now, this is on,
The activities on the town road layout. I'm sure that he will have a conversation with me about how I am not opposed to the activities being done on the road layout. It's a very positive thing, so it's not a negative. We have a motion and a second for continuance to the 17th. Is there any other discussion in the audience about this project? Is there any other discussion from the board? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous so moved. Thank you very much. I guess I don't need a Snickers.
Yeah, I think you do.
Next is
Sugar levels out of whack.
I ate all my.
471
Central.
Central Ave, East Falmouth, Mass. Permission to raise, R-A-Z-E, and construct a four-bedroom, single-family house with an attached garage porch with stairs to install a shell driveway and parking spaces, dry wells, utilities, native shrubs, to move pine trees, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Thank you, Jen. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening. Well, for the record, Jeff Ryder with BSS Design. This project may look familiar to some of you because 1 year ago, you voted an order of conditions for complete renovation of this house. It was going to get some additions, some porches. It also was going to be a new roof and windows. It was going to be a substantial improvement. But at that time, it was above the flood zone. So we had an order of conditions, a building permit to go ahead, and then Peter Anselli, that is, thought, well, listen, I'm going to put a lot of money into this, he wants to come and live here. And then I'll have a house in the flood zone because the new flood maps came out, as you know, last summer. The data went down, the flood zone came up, and lo and behold, the floor is, now a few feet below the flood elevation. So why would one do all this work and then have to pay flood insurance on their house? So, or a high premium, that is. So, what he wants to do here is raise, as in demolish, and rebuild on the same footprint. This side here to the south is a little bit further than the existing wall. There's a wraparound porch, and the reason for that is to sort of bring the construction down to the ground without, through slats and nice construction work around this porch to sort of mask the foundation in the narrowness of the building. So I think you can appreciate, trying to blend the house back into the ground when you have to elevate it, not a full story, but a partial story. So if you looked at the second page, it's a septic thing, but it gets you an idea of what we're having to do. We're putting a slab at grade in a what they're gonna call a crawl space, but it's really a slab at grade with a first floor at 14. So that gives you the kind of the construction idea there, of getting it out of the ground. It'll also have flood vents in those walls. I'm going to go back to the resource areas. We got land under the salt pond, salt marsh. The limit to the salt marsh is a coastal bank. It's about a foot or so high. That's staked in the field. And then we're in land subject to coastal storm flowage. And that goes, there's a transition here. You see this pink line on my plan. And another one here. This is where elevation 12 and 13 are, and then the remainder of the lot is in elevation 12 in the AE zone. So no work to the small cottage in the front. That in fact was renovated about 2 years ago. So the Anicellis are new owners as of a couple of years ago. Again, you know, they wanted to keep the old house, but it just wasn't going to work out for them. Limit of work stayed the same as last time you saw this. One of the changes that's different is we want to move the 2 pine trees to here. And Peter was going to be here, but he's not here. Well, anyway, he spoke to an arborist. I think it was the Dale company there. Forgot his first name. Anyway, they said that they could move these trees, although they're fairly substantial, but with a good spade, we can move those 2 trees. So that's about it. Oh, no, there's a new septic proposed here. It's kind of linear because of the narrowness of the lot. So keeping the existing septic tank. You'll see there's a short little field here today. Again, we're using the infiltrator strip here and the distribution box in the center of that strip. Drywall detail, of course, and we have a few dry wells around the house. And I'll take any questions.
I'm going to interject before anybody else. Thank you for bringing up the drywall detail, because on your last plan, it wasn't on.
It actually was, if you got the revision, the last one does have it on there.
I stand corrected. Thank you, Jeff. It's right in my face, right there. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So, Jen, any questions?
Jeff, you're moving closer than the present primary structure in the salt marsh buffer zone, correct?
Primary structure?
Yeah, your present primary structure, not the gravel area, the structure itself.
Yeah, the stairs
Yeah.
coming off of the porch.
Yeah, so now your new wraparound porch that extends further into that zone A at Salt Marsh?
We have this little corner here.
Yeah.
Even right there.
Yeah.
Yes, but there is a disturbed area that this was very similar to the last time. This is where we were.
Here's the last plan, Jeff. I have it right here.
We're doing
So-
modification right here.
Yeah, I know. So what the board allowed you to do is build the proposed porch, and you just wanted that little corner the last time, and it was a disturbed area, so the board said, you know, okay, it was just that little corner. Now it's 2 little corners, so the board will have to decide whether or not they want to allow that. But I can show the board the difference between the 2 plans. And the pines, you're gonna, can you relocate those? Both of them? Or are you taking them down? No, you're gonna relocate both of them.
Bring those over to the lot line.
Okay. So anyway, just look at those 2 corners of the plan, board. That's you. And your regulations say you cannot move any closer than the present primary structure. So technically, this thing looks like it's being moved, well, I mean, within the A zone of the salt marsh, so it is just those 2 little corners.
And it's in an area that is, compact with gravel with
Not
timber
with the
edge
red,
on it, and it was disturbed,
not with the red stuff.
sort of an impervious surface.
Not what the regs say though, Jeff. The regulations do not say disturbed area or impervious surface. They say present primary structure in areas of salt marsh. So the board can decide on that. Other than that, I don't have any comments.
Okay, John?
Okay, I don't have any problem with that, I'll just say that. I appreciate
No,
Jen's opinion.
that's fine.
Um,
In my
the
opinion,
pitch
I just
pines,
vote in your regs.
I think that they are quite substantial, so, I don't know how moving them goes. One thing I noticed is over here where you have the proposed beach plum planted, when I was there today, it looked like there was actually a naturally vegetated area within, I don't know if it's overlapping where you're proposed to put the beach plums, but there is an area of natural vegetation. That space there is not all lawn. I would like to see that reflected on this plan, just so that we know that we're not planting on top of, yeah.
Perhaps, I don't know if there's this
Is it,
line
is it?
plant that it shows the edge of the lawn,
Uh-huh.
and then there's a buffer beyond it. We're proposing to plant in front of the existing buffer.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong, but it looked like there was, and I don't know if anybody else saw that when they went out there, but it looked like there was kind of a circle of natural vegetation and the lawn was cut around it. And it looked to me like where the lawn was cut around it, that's where you're proposing to put the beach plums. And if it's not overlapping, that's fine. I would just like to see that natural vegetated area on the plan.
You want to see it correctly on the plan? Okay.
Yeah, so that this, if I may, so it doesn't show, right now, it does not reflect
Current site conditions.
current site conditions as viewed by John, and that in the future, if this is the plan of reference and that area is cleared, this is the only reference that you have to any proposed plantings, or any plantings in that area.
Correct.
Am I, okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Mike?
No question.
Russ?
I'm just gonna throw this out there, Jeff. Is there a reason why this house couldn't have been shifted, say, 5 feet closer to Central Ave? You know what I mean? And take it out of that issue with the salt marsh? And the top of Coastal Bank, that buffer area?
Well, I'll tell you what's going on as part of this. We're also going to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals because we're altering a structure. We've already been there a year ago, but we have to go back because it's a new structure. As part of that, you have to show your parking spaces. Now, we're not creating parking. I think that was discussed in the description, but we're showing where the parking is.
Yep.
There's a 15-foot easement for the Anaceli's, and this used to be a road layout, by the way.
Mhm.
It says formerly Wheaton Street. It was 30 feet wide. Each family took half of that, but the Anaceli's remained with that easement on the north side of that lot line. So we show a couple of parking spaces there, and we have to show 2 here, and then we have to show a backup area. So that area in between the two is actually to back into to get out. So we're not backing into Central Avenue. So that space in between is fairly important.
But I mean, I'm just curious what is that width there then, between the two structures? Is that?
Here it's
Let me
probably
see.
about 16 feet maybe.
Is it
Yeah.
16?
That's an eyeball,
So
but
you take 5, yeah, okay.
it would just get too narrow otherwise. You want to have a little wiggle room.
Yeah, particularly if it's a year-round residence after that, to do snow removal and such, that would be a,
Being a wraparound porch, you can't cut the corner off. If it was a deck, you could, but. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, I have a, would you like to look at the,
if we look at it, it
Perspective.
goes in the record.
fine.
Okay. Mary?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about the plan for the pines and just wondering if the transplanting isn't successful. There should be mitigation for that, and I don't know if there's a way we can condition that, but I think there might be.
I think that's a good.
I think we can do I just want to show this.
So I think we would be looking at 6 trees, right?
Or 2 trees of the same size. If a tree doesn't survive, replace it. You're spading a tree, if they can spade a tree from this area, they could definitely find one in a nursery and spade it and put it in there.
True, but the prospect, if these have already failed, the prospects for the other ones aren't so great,
Well,
I would say. I'm concerned because they're substantial.
Well, they say they can do it. I have seen some cedar trees about 16 inches of diameter get transplanted successfully.
I've seen it done, but not in a location as,
Mary, we can
Close to the
discuss,
water was this.
yeah, during your deliberations,
Yeah.
if the transplantation of these trees is not successful, then how many the board would like to see.
yeah, okay. That's all I have.
So when you look at this, this is a set of our preliminary architecture that's gone to the zoning board of appeals, which is required. And here's a perspective, this is taken from this view here, say, maybe even across the waterway, looking at it. So when you take a peek, you're looking at the
The
water,
final product.
the view towards the water, or from the water. And it'll explain the reason why we're putting the wraparound porch, and you'll see that it kind of, carries the house to the ground.
That makes sense.
The 2 corners, I think, you're putting an awful lot of, those trees, the methodology, the timeline of the project, you're coming in, you raise the house, you're gonna move the trees, and then you're gonna start the foundation and do stuff, because I don't see you moving those trees with the house there, or after you put the new foundation in.
I think they could still get in there. That driveway's pretty wide. But,
Okay, well, if you have,
they wouldn't put that porch on right away, of course, that would,
well, that's a, well, there you go. Now
I mean,
you-
the
now you're-
the foundation's gonna go in, obviously,
Now you
first.
smell what I'm stepping in.
Yeah?
Okay, that's, I just want to know, because that's going to be a coordination of, I've seen Dale tree movers and some of their work. I've literally seen them crane stuff, equipment and trees over houses. I
Right.
know that they're capable of taking and transplanting these trees. My concern is reflected by my fellow commissioner, that the sustainability of them, to make sure that they're,
Right.
and that's everybody's intent, is to have them survive. I believe you can, but I just want to get in my own mind's eye, where all of a sudden, the job's progressed up, and all of a sudden, the general contractor says, I gotta get this thing on now, and you're ended up not being able to transplant these as efficiently as you could. So I just need to know that,
Right. Well, certainly the house would come down, that would be probably the best time to do it, just like you said. But if they did pour the foundation, I think they could still get at it. But
I'll
I
give you
think
that, but the more activity around those trees after the fact, once you get now, you gotta understand, I say this with the greatest empathy and gratitude for every knucklehead that's ever framed a house, okay, including myself. Those trees are in an area where there's gonna be huge amounts of activity. They're gonna end up having to have a safeguard around them. There's gonna have to be some kind of, not just the stakes in the ground, but some type of fencing with metal posts that scratch paint. Because that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna have, it's a linear driveway, and you have a lot of activity. You got lumber dock there, you got the sound and vision guy, and everybody, we gotta get this done, because, oh my goodness, we got an inspection coming.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, somebody's a knucklehead and backs into them, or drives over them, or you got a forklift, or a lull, and the tires crush the root system. It happens. Even with the best intentions, you wanna make sure that you protect that. I guess that's what I'm getting at, because it's more costly after the fact. If these trees don't survive, you're even more constricted to try to replicate what's there. And that would be what would happen. If these don't survive, my idea of 2 trees probably won't happen. There will probably be 6 trees somewhere else on the lot. So there's an incentive to make sure that the knuckleheads, including myself, don't back into these things, don't put lumber on them, don't have the trash container there. You know, it's a very congested site.
That's true.
You know, and the septic system, kudos, you know, that's not easy. You know, so, and again, you're gonna be working your way out with that. And then somebody else is gonna come in. You know, I just see this, because that's the corner where everybody's gonna go around to get that side of the house.
I can tell you've been there plenty of times, so.
You know, and as far as in the original notice of intent, the corner of the deck was allowed,
Believe so, yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
but the stairs,
No, the stairs are on
the
the other
stairs
side.
weren't.
Yeah.
My suggestion is to offset those stairs or make them smaller. Just don't even make it an issue. All right, it's just something that it'll be a hangnail, that'll be a topic of discussion during deliberation. I know if there's a big
Do you wanna see
door
the
that you
other
want to have in the center of it, don't you please have that, John? There's a door that's centered on it and the stairs are right there, and they are. How happy is that? How wonderful is that? It looks beautiful, you know, it really does. That's why they're putting them there. Ooh. Yeah, that does look nice. I'm sorry, it does.
It's designed by Matt Schiffer at Hutker, and he's top notch, but, yeah, it'd be unfortunate if we have to
If
move
I
down
may,
the pole.
before you, I'm looking at what you said, you're looking from the water, and that's very attractive, all right? And it's showing the stairs going out and also hips.
Yeah, that
out
was
to
an
the side.
earlier version. I said they couldn't come out to the sides, keep it, throttled back. And this is what they come up with here on this site plan. You'll see on the architecture, there's not that, the wings are not on there, but that perspective plan wasn't edited,
And why did you tell them you couldn't have the wings up?
because it was just too much in that area,
Ah, okay.
you know.
Boy, my hearing's getting better sometimes. Although it's centered, it does look nice, I can't take that away. I know, darn it, you know, just, I know, crap. It's just too, yeah, I know it. It does fit extremely well. Poop. It's unfortunate that, you know, what are we talking, like 7 square feet?
That's not much.
You know, the only issue with this, and I want everybody at home and other engineers to hear this, is that that's the stuff that just goes in you, it's an ingrown toenail. You know, you're stubbing it on the threshold, it's just, oh, no, it's just one little thing. Oh, well, it's just gravel, it's just this. And, you know, you're very lucky that it's pretty freaking good looking.
Well, that's why I brought them.
Yeah,
A lot of
that's-
times you ask for them, so.
Yeah, I am
Prepared.
too. Actually, I'm glad you showed that, because what actually is the intrusion really is just, I'm glad it's not like the front. If it was like the front, you wouldn't be able to, that'd be way too much. You know, that would be,
Well, if you think about it, stairs are going to be lumber with slats and probably just as impervious as the gravel, so it's almost a trade-off as far as material goes. But, I know what your regs, I haven't looked at that section lately, and Jennifer reminded me it's primary structure. I don't know if you can stretch the walkway around the building as part of the primary structure, but I guess it doesn't seem like it. But we certainly wouldn't like to
Primary structure, Jeff.
main
Not gravel.
that design, and perhaps we could overlook a corner.
Well, I
That'll be
think
up to
we've-
the board.
I think I've had enough information for myself, thank you. Is there any further discussion on the board?
Wants to keep it till the night.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this project?
Wait, doesn't Jeff need a new plan showing the updated vegetation line for John?
Yes,
Yeah.
he does. That was,
I can get you that, say, tomorrow. I don't know if you need it for a hearing, but
Do you want to are you fine with closing it with that?
On that adjustment, if you have a comfort level with what he's gonna provide, and if you can review that, and if there's an issue with it,
Yes, I can do that tomorrow.
Beautiful.
all right.
I
Jeff,
can
get
get
me
it
that
to you. I
plan
have to go
tomorrow.
out to the site and eyeball it in and
Yep,
get to the plan
Friday?
probably at the end of the day or Friday morning.
Okay,
Either way.
excellent,
All right.
thank you.
All right, so at this point, is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on this project? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Okay, that's Mary's motion, and also second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thanks very much.
Okay, next is continued request for a hearing under a notice of intent. First is 259 Shorewood Drive, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to renovate the deck, add stairs, remove an existing shower, and relocate, install a brick walkway, pea-stone drive with cobble apron, fieldstone retaining wall, and elevated walkway to the salt marsh, remove 7 pine trees, implement lowland and upland plant restorations, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Quorum's right in front of Russell. Do you have the quorum sheets right in front of you, Russell? I think it's all of you.
I think it is. This is,
Which one did we open first? 259?
I'm just gonna get our form together.
yep, look at the,
Everybody on?
everybody here.
Everybody here. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Michael Borselli from Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant along with Katrin Higgins from Wilkinson Ecological Design. And we're here tonight. This is a continued hearing. In fact, there's 2 back-to-back. As you know, this side, both properties are owned by the same applicant. On this application specifically, we continued the hearing because we didn't have a DEP file number, and there was some additional information requested by the commission. So there was some minor revisions to the site plan prepared by my office, as well as the design plan prepared by Katrin's office. I'll just briefly describe the changes to my plan, and then I'll turn it over to Katrin. Basically, on this lot, the only revision that was made was the commission asked us to consider reducing the overall length of the elevated walkway. We did do that. We reduced the length of it so that it is now more than 10 feet away from the edge of the salt marsh. There wasn't a specific direction, but we talked about on an order of magnitude about that distance. So I think we satisfied Jan's concern about having the walkway end right at the salt marsh. That's change was made to the plan and the associated profile of the walkway that's at the bottom of the page. And that was the only change that we made to number 259. I think that's all I have, and I'll turn it over to Katrin, and then we're both available for questions.
Good evening, Katrin Higgins, Wilkinson Ecological Design. As Mike was saying, during the first hearing, the commission requested us to kind of investigate the mitigation plan that was associated with a previous order for the construction of the house. So we did that, and we tracked down the plan and reviewed it and saw that that original order had 2 eastern red cedars, 8 bayberry, and 32 low bush blueberry that were part of the mitigation plan for that. So we wanted to be sure to incorporate that into our plan, so you can see the revised plan before you. Along the northern property line, we've called out the 2 eastern red cedar, the 7 bayberry, because there was actually one still left from that planting that was doing quite well. So that will make up a clump of 8 bayberry and then 32 low bush blueberry. And we made sure to kind of identify those plants as replacing previous mitigation planting, and we connected that to we called out the order of conditions on there, just to make sure that this information carries, the previous order information of the mitigation planting carries on in our restoration plan. So that was really the only change that we had made.
Thank you. Jen, any further questions? Are there any questions? Any questions on the board?
Mary?
The risk of upsetting Mike for the second time, there's that thing on Form 3.
I didn't change the form. Do you want me to submit it? I'm happy to do it.
No.
I saw it in my notes, and I forgot to change the form. I'm happy to submit it.
Submit a revised form. Please,
Jen,
thank you.
Is it of consequence? Is it of consequence?
I forget what it
I
was
mean,
in form,
I
correct?
personally,
the
I would be
truth.
happy with just a
Mike, just
handwritten
change the
change.
form. Now, you can
Just a
change the form and
handwritten
give it
change
to me
so we have
tomorrow.
the right thing in the record.
I'm happy to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Entertain a motion.
Motion to close the hearing, take it under advisement.
Second?
We have Russell's motion, Mary's second. Any further discussion in the audience on this project? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you.
Next, you're welcome. Next is 257 Shorewood Drive, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise the existing dwelling, that's R-A-Z-E, and construct a single-family, 4-bedroom house with attached garage, porches,
Yes.
decks, and stairs, install a walkway, Title V, sewage disposal systems, utilities, dry wells, driveway, walkway to the salt marsh, implement woodland and coastal bank plant restoration, remove timber wall, landscape timbers and concrete, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with raise tonight.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, again, for the record, Michael Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant along with Katrine Higgins. I'm trying to pronounce Katrine, not Katrina, I apologize. And this is the same scenario. We did not have a DEP file number. We made our initial presentation. There was some questions about the project. I think they were mainly minor in nature. The only question that I needed to address is to try to find out where the existing septic system is. We did find out from the owner that it is located, and it's shown on the revised plan. There's a revision of November 24th, 2014 that says add existing septic system. And it's located, the septic tank is located in this location, and it's shown on the plan, and the leaching system is located on the side here. So of course, it is substandard anyway, but it's also in conflict with the new house, so that will be revised and, reconstructed as a new Title V system on the landward side of the house, between the house and the road. So it'll be certainly further away and basically outside jurisdiction. So that's the only change we made, and I'll turn it over to Katrine.
Hello. For the record, Katrine Higgins from Wilkinson Ecological Design. And I believe that there were no clarifications that we needed to make or changes on our plan, so we didn't revise anything on our plan. So, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
It was we had brought up the issue about the 6 previously managed black cherry saplings.
Right.
That were proposed for removal, on the 6 to be maintained at 6 feet in height.
Right.
There may be some revisions to that in the order because they weren't previously managed. They were previously illegally managed, so I mean, they weren't really supposed to be pruned to that height anyway.
Okay.
So if they are removed, then we're going to what, can you just, are you putting anything back in those areas?
We have chokeberry,
Okay.
and then serviceberry
Okay.
right there. We just thought it would allow more light.
No, I know,
you
I
to
saw
get-
them out there with you.
yeah,
No, I
yeah.
understand, I just, that was my only, I remember that was my only comment on your plan on this
Yep,
property.
that's right, yeah.
Is there any further questions from the board? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this project?
That makes me laugh.
Seeing none, actually, I'd entertain a motion.
Move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second?
That's Mary's motion, Mike's second.
I wanna do that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next on the
Thank you.
docket. Thank you. Next on the docket is 20 Nichols Road, White Mass, for permission to install approximately 100 linear feet of biologs, restore all areas disturbed by construction, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Hi, Mr. Chairman. I'll save any of my comments. Basically, in this, the board wanted a revised narrative and methodology for the project, and that was provided, as well as a revised plan for the project. That was also provided, and more specifications on what was going to be used. So, Mr. Skowski's here to,
And all those were
Yes.
submitted for the file?
yep.
Yes, ma'am.
There's still one problem with the plan, which is that it's still referencing the 1986 FEMA lines.
I'm Paul Moskowski, Mr. Chairman, Board, Jen. Jack called me this evening and left me a message to say to Jen that he assured her that the line that was shown on this new plan that has been submitted is correct.
It's the new one?
It's the new one.
Okay.
I
He's
still
gonna
think
have
that
to change the
plan
note.
should say that we referencing
He didn't change the note.
correct FEMA lines.
Yeah. Paul Moskowski.
And
I'll get Jack to submit me a revised plan.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
that,
I've spent hours on this, I'm sorry.
no, and I hope the applicant understands that detail is something
It's
that,
very important.
yeah, that, and it's not just important for us, and this is for the audience out there and for anybody else that's interested in it, is that when we do the hearing, you come in, you invest your time and all these other things, and you get your project, it comes to fruition, everybody's happy, and you go for your compliance, and these are the ingrown toenails that just set off flags. We're not really trying to crush somebody's spirit, we just want to make sure that the process is as easy as possible, and that's why I appreciate Mary's input so much, is that those are the details that trip things up.
I completely agree with you.
Could I,
Please.
just to add to that, I actually think of it more in terms of things that may happen down the line. This becomes the record on the property.
Yes.
And if we put it in the way it is, 5 years from now, Concom will look at it and say, oh, there's a problem with this plan, they weren't using the right FEMA line.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate that
I
that
spent hours on
protects the
this
applicant.
with Jack, and I really, he assured me that everything was up to speed and right up to a telephone call 2 hours ago. So I apologize, and I will be certain that he'll have a revised plan to you tomorrow.
I'm very glad to hear the explanation. I suspected maybe nothing had changed, but
No, a lot has
Paul,
changed.
glad that's true.
You will be seeing special conditions that are going to require you, and I talked about this,
Yes.
that we meet out there with your representatives
Chris.
of the, yep,
Yes.
of the
Yeah, I'm good with that.
manufacturer, and do all that, so expect those conditions on there,
That's
okay?
fine.
Yeah, and this is, like you said,
And I
this is
know
your
you want
first
to get it
go-around
done in
with
the
this.
winter,
Yes,
so.
looking forward to it.
I'll
And
dress
that's a
for it.
great attitude to have.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Is there any further discussion on the board? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on this project? Seeing none, I'd take a motion.
Move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Okay, we have Mary's motion and Russell's second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice night.
The next one was continued to the 21st. And next we have request to amend the existing order of conditions. Daniel Ward, Megansett Harbor, North Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the existing order of conditions to expand the existing 2.6 acre in-outer Megansett Harbor by 7.4 acres to bring the total lease size to 10 acres to grow oysters, cohogs, and bay scallops. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Daniel Ward. I'm the applicant, the original applicant, and going for the amendment right now. Also, since I turned in my the amendment, the application for the amendment to the order of conditions, I've received approval from the Army Corps of Engineers and the Massachusetts Board of Underwater Archaeological Resources, and it's not necessarily germane to the Concom discussion, but I have copies of that approval if you would like it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For the record would be good. Yes, please. Thank you.
They only need one copy now, for the record.
Well, I made 12. I thought everything was in 12.
Everything is in 12. Good, but they don't really.
Killing more trees. We need to do something about that.
You're being very thorough.
So essentially, this is to replicate the exact same thing that I have been doing since 2011 for the original order of conditions for the shellfish lease in Megansett Harbor, in outer Megansett Harbor. So the exact same species to be cultured, the same manner of culturing, the same area, everything's the exact same. It's just to increase the lease size to the 10 acres, which the Board of Selectmen came to an agreement with Town Council that 10 acres is the maximum size for that given area. And so with the existing lease being 2.6, I'm asking for an additional 7.4. And it's adjacent to the existing site, and it shares the same northwest corner of the existing site as the maps show.
Thank you. Do you have any questions, Jeff?
No, Dan, the only thing is that the harbor master's been working on aquaculture site markings, so you're going to see the incorporation of those in your order of conditions, because I know that he had some concerns with the amount of lines and buoys and everything out there. So they've been really trying to develop a kind of a protocol for that. So that's been done through the Marine Environmental Services Department, and so you'll be seeing that. We're going to incorporate some of this language in your order.
That's
Okay,
great.
so it'll be
Yeah.
different than your original order. So, but I want the whole site to look like this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, excellent.
Yeah, and the only regulations out there right now are mandating the 4 corner buoys. which
Yeah,
is
we
the
had
division.
you marking them too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the
Yep.
Division of Marine Fisheries mandates that the corner buoys are marked with yellow buoys to distinguish an aquaculture zone. And so my current site has that, and obviously I would do that on the amended site as well. And then the markings that Jen is referring to is the buoys that I use to mark my cages. And the last 2 times it came in front of the commission, there wasn't really any discussion on that, but a member of, or at least one, if not more, members of the Board of Selectmen had some questions about navigation issues with that many buoys. And so the Board of Selectmen had put it to the Department of Marine and
Yes,
Environmental
to come up with-
Services
yeah.
to review that, but in the meantime, to come up with either a regulation or guidance as far as what to do. But in the meantime, on my own, without guidance, I've reduced the number of buoys that I have by 10 times. So I'm
Good.
looking to reduce it even
Yeah,
further.
excellent.
So I've already, I don't know what they proposed, but I'm sure I'm already below it already.
And you've
so.
already dropped off, I know
Should
that
get a
you're
copy
really
of
good
this.
at submitting your reports to us on your growing activities. So that's, the current order of conditions is being met.
And that was my only comment, is that with the expansion of this, I'm curious, has it been what you expected?
Yes and no, I suppose. So I've been doing this for research, on a research level for many years now, and to go from the research level to a commercial level is a completely different animal. So in the one hand, yes, I kind of knew what I was getting into, but on the other hand, when you do it in millions instead of just 100, it's a different kind of, you got to attack it a little bit differently. But yeah, it's been going really well. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be looking for more area. And I've essentially exhausted the area that I have. Great survival rates. Yeah, it's been going great.
You said something really nice, great survival rates. It has been sustainable.
Yeah. The nice thing, everything's site specific, right? So at any aquaculture site, you don't really know what you're going to get until you put stuff in the water and you see what you get. And so some of the sites in Falmouth tend to have high incidence of starfish or oyster drills, or depending on more brackish water, you have some more boring sponge and things like that are issues. And my site's been, knock on wood, pretty good. So it's not quite brackish. I mean, it's full seawater is like 32, 33 parts per thousand, and my site's like 30 to 31. So it's not quite brackish, but it's brackish, I think, enough to keep the starfish out. So I don't have nearly as big a problem as some of the guys that are more fully in Buzzards Bay have. So yeah, I've been happy with it. I'd get better growth if stuff was at the surface, but I like keeping all the cages at the bottom because it keeps it out of out of navigation issues, and everyone seems to be happy with it. So yeah, it's been working out well.
Good. Excellent. Is there any other questions on the board?
How long have you been doing this project here? Okay.
Well, I got the 2.6 acres, I got in 2011, November 2011, but I planted in May of 2012. So it's been a little, like almost 3.5 years, or like 3 years or so. So
Yeah.
I've been selling the product, selling oysters since November of last year. So it's been about a year of selling product. And then, so the first year was 2012, and things went okay, and I learned a lot. And then I came back in front of the commission to ask for a nursery site in Fiddler's Cove Marina, which is why this is my second amendment. And that dramatically improved the survival and the growth and the profitability of the business as it is. So, yeah, and then this is, year 3, trying to expand a little bit more. So this is officially the 3rd year of doing it commercially.
Mm-hmm. Did you get any response from the Wampanoags? I noticed that you sent notification to them, which I think it's a great gesture. But
I'd love to say that was my idea, but it's not.
okay. Well, I mean, it's also unusual to see, I think, also. So.
No, well, maybe most people just don't say it. It's part of the Army Corps. So when you have to go for a general permit for the Army Corps, and part of the Army Corps general permit, at least for this particular area, is to notify the 3 different Indian tribes. And so I did that for the initial one, and then as well for this amendment. I didn't hear anything back from them. Like I handed out, I did hear back from the Board of Underwater Archaeological Resources, but that's it so far. But I didn't hear anything back from any of the Indian tribes on the first one either, so.
Right. Neat. Thanks.
I just want to commend you on your submission to us. It was so thorough. Rarely do we get an application for an amendment where somebody provides background on what's been, what happened before. And also just, going through the process, getting everything lined up. You're getting good at it.
Thanks, yeah, round 3, I'm starting to get the hang of it.
I would say, because I remember permitting in the first go-round was exhaustive. It was, you never knew if the trail could be so long.
Well, yeah, there's this chicken and egg thing with the
Yeah.
evaluation by DMF.
Unfortunately, there's no application. So, I think all of us doing this, whether it's me or anyone else going for it in any town in Massachusetts, you're kind of figuring out as you go, So I guess I'm getting better on the 3rd try. But I try to give, both for you as well as the Army Corps and everyone else, I try to give as much information as possible so that there's no questions as far as in any aspect of the project.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Any further discussion? Entertain a motion.
Move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Okay, that would be Mary's motion, Mike's second. And no other comments from the audience? Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We come to that last little thing known as an adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
That's Mary's motion, and that's John's second.
John, can you look at Susan's computer?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Good night.